Good evening and welcome to Monday's programme. First tonight, Nottinghamshire's Chief Constable has told this programme that his job should be scrapped. Chris Eyre made the comment following a call for forces across the country to be merged to save money.
Mr Ayres is backing the idea, even though he concedes it's a bit like turkeys voting for Christmas. He wants a new regional force to run policing right across the East Midlands, and he's convinced it can still be locally accountable. Our social affairs correspondent Jeremy Ball reports.
Local policing for your local community. It's a fundamental principle of this country's law and order system, but is it really effective? Today, Nottinghamshire's Chief Constable unveiled his plans to adapt to the latest budget cuts. It'll mean pooling more resources and specialist staff with other local police forces, but he'd like to go much further.
You do not need 43 chief constables and 43 sets of headquarters. The money that goes into those should be forced and pushed down into delivering better services for the public.
So do you think your job should be scrapped?
Certainly, I think there should be fewer chief constables. Is this me voting for Christmas? Well, I guess if this is a turkey voting for Christmas, I guess this is part of it for me, is that we can't carry on in the way we've delivered business.
Regional policing's already well established here in the East Midlands. The Philpott fire deaths in Derby were investigated by the East Midlands Homicide Unit. And these days everything from forensics to firearms are handled by specialist regional teams. So does Nottinghamshire's Police and Crime Commissioner think it's time for his force to merge?
I've always thought that there's a strong case for regional police forces. Whether we force people into mergers, I think, is still up in the air and depends on legislation.
The East Midlands will be an area about the size of Belgium.
And it could depend on public opinion too. 8 years ago, plans to merge our local forces had to be scrapped amid fears that local people would lose control over local policing. But Chris Eyre thinks it's different this time round.
I am not arguing for losing local accountability. We've got locally elected police and crime commissioners now who would make sure that the chief constable was held to account for the delivery of local services to meet the local priorities that they would determine. It's inefficient, it doesn't make sense, and it creates a bureaucracy that we could get rid of.
But others might not be so confident, and if police force mergers are back on the table, they're bound to be controversial.
Well, as you can see, Jeremy has joined us in the studio. Jeremy, good evening. I mean, a regional police force would be a huge change, wouldn't it? How likely is it?
Well, it's not going to happen imminently because this would need primary legislation, a change in the law, and that certainly isn't going to happen this side of a general election. I do think, though, that the sands have really shifted since this idea caused so much outrage last time round. Firstly, because there's so much more financial pressure. Secondly, because it's already working up in Scotland where the local forces have been merged. And I'm told that leading politicians on both sides of the political divide are much more positive about this idea of police force mergers now. So the message tonight, I think, watch this space.
Indeed. Jeremy, thanks very much indeed.
Thanks, Jeremy.